Picture this. Close your eyes if you like. Imagine you're standing in the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. It's the late 17th century. The air is thick with beeswax and the heady scent of 1,000 perfumes. Sunlight explodes through the towering windows, shattering across gold leaf, crystal chandeliers, and the jewels of the assembled court. And at the very center of this swirling galaxy of power stands one man, King Louis XIV, the Sun King. He is the absolute embodiment of majesty. In his France, the king's word isn't just law, it is reality. He can grant you a dukedom with a lazy wave of his hand, or, with a single whisper, he can make you disappear. But this story isn't about the light. It begins in the shadows, because while the Sun King was building this glittering world, deep within his kingdom, in the darkest corners of its most notorious prisons, another man was living a life in total opposition. A man whose face was hidden from the world for 34 years behind a mask. Not a simple leather mask, as the legends say, but one of black velvet, fused to a frame of steel. He was known only as the Man in the Iron Mask. His identity was a secret so vital, so dangerous, that the French state poured immense resources into utterly erasing it. But why? Who was this man? That question has haunted historians and treasure hunters for centuries, and today we're going to unravel it together. All right, before we dive into the wild theories, and believe me, they get wild, let's separate the cold, hard facts from the fiction that men like Alexandre Dumas so brilliantly spun. What do we actually know for sure? Well, for one, we know he was real. This isn't just a ghost story. We have official state correspondence about a very specific, unnamed prisoner. His long, lonely journey begins in 1669, when he is arrested and taken to the prison of Pignerol, high in the French Alps. His jailer is a man named Benigne d'Auvergne de Saint-Mars. And this jailer's career will be forever chained to his mysterious captive. Wherever Saint-Mars went, the prisoner went too. From Pignerol, they moved to the fortress of Aix-Îles. Then a harrowing journey by sea to the island of Sainte Marguerite, a speck of land off the coast of Caen. And finally, in 1698, they made their last journey to the most dreaded prison in all of France, the Bastille, looming in the heart of Paris. And here's the first major clue. This was no common criminal. He never languished in a squalid dungeon. His cells were well furnished. He was served fine meals from the governor's own table. He was given books, new clothes, even a lute to play. The Minister of War himself wrote letters demanding that the prisoner's every need be met. Except, of course, for his freedom and his identity. The secrecy was absolute, almost fanatical. The orders from Paris were chillingly clear. If the prisoner ever spoke to anyone about anything other than his immediate needs, Saint-Mars was to kill him. Without hesitation. When he had to see a doctor, he was forced to stand with his back to him, his masked face turned to the wall. The guards were forbidden from even speculating, told only to refer to him as the ancient prisoner. He was a ghost, deliberately and methodically erased from the world of the living. He finally died in the Bastille in 1703 and was buried under the false name Marchioli. Immediately, the authorities burned all of his belongings, scraped and whitewashed the walls of his cell, and melted down any metal objects he might have possessed, just in case he'd managed to scratch some hidden message. Think about that. 34 years of enforced silence, followed by a total annihilation of his existence. Whatever secret this man carried, the French crown was absolutely terrified of it. Okay, so with that foundation of fact, let's get to the fun part. The theories. They really fall into two major camps. The first is the one you've probably heard. It's sensational, it's tragic, and it's the stuff of Hollywood legend. This is the royal blood theory. The philosopher Voltaire was one of the first to give this idea life. The theory goes like this. The Queen, Louis XIV's mother, didn't just give birth to one son. She gave birth to identical twins. Now, in the fragile political landscape of the 17th century, this wasn't a blessing. It was a catastrophe. An identical twin brother to the King of France? That's a ready-made civil war. Any disgruntled noble, any foreign enemy, could prop up the spare twin and claim he was the true heir. How could anyone ever prove which was which? To secure the throne for Louis, the second twin was spirited away, raised in secret. But when he grew up and discovered the truth of his royal birth, he became too dangerous to live freely, but too royal to be killed. The solution? A life sentence, a permanent mask to hide the face that was a mirror of the most famous man in the world. It explains everything, doesn't it? The special treatment, because you can't just toss a prince into a common dungeon. The incredible secrecy, because to reveal his face would shatter the kingdom. It's a perfect tragic story. But, like most perfect stories, it has a problem. There is absolutely zero historical evidence that Louis XIV ever had a twin. Not a single letter, no diary entry, no court gossip. Nothing. It's a brilliant theory, but it seems to be just that. A story. So that brings us to the second camp, the one most modern historians favor. It's less cinematic, but it's rooted in far more evidence. This is the state secrets theory, and it centers on a man with a real name, Eustache d'Orger. From the actual 1669 arrest warrant, we know the prisoner was identified as Eustache d'Orger. For centuries, this was assumed to be an alias, but modern research has uncovered that he was a real person, most likely a valet caught in a terrifying web of political scandal. So the question pivots. It's no longer who was he, but what did a mere valet named Eustache d'Orger know that was so dangerous? There are a couple of leading possibilities. He might have been involved in the notorious Affair of the Poisons, a scandal that implicated members of the king's own court in black magic and assassination plots. Or, and this one is tantalizing, he may have worked for a disgraced minister who knew some of the Sun King's most humiliating state and financial secrets. Perhaps Dogger overheard something he shouldn't have, something that could politically ruin the king. This theory feels more grounded, more real. It explains the timing of the arrest and the desperate need for silence. But it has a problem too. Would the French state really go to such extraordinary, expensive, and complicated lengths for a valet? For 34 years? Why maintain that level of security and special treatment? Why not just arrange a quiet, unfortunate accident in his first week of captivity? The extraordinary care simply doesn't seem to match the prisoner's supposed station in life. And so we're left with a paradox. The royal blood theory perfectly explains the treatment of the prisoner, but has no evidence for his identity. The state secrets theory gives us a likely identity, but struggles to explain the extreme, lifelong treatment. Neither shoe seems to fit, and maybe that's the heart of it. Maybe that's why this mystery has captivated us for over 300 years. The man himself is gone, his identity almost certainly lost to time. But his legacy is something much larger. He has become a powerful, haunting symbol. He represents the terrifying reach of absolute power, the ability of a state not just to imprison a body, but to erase a person, to steal their face, their name, their very existence from the pages of history. He is a ghost who reminds us that some secrets are considered so dangerous. A single human life is a small price to pay to keep them buried. The man in the iron mask remains an eternal question mark, a silhouette cast against the glittering backdrop of the Sun King's court, a constant reminder that even in the brightest of worlds, the darkest secrets are kept, and we are still searching for the key. Thanks for listening.